Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this, my backup channel, Nathan Oakley, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the uncut debates. Now, if you'd like to support this channel, there is also a super chat that runs alongside the show while it premieres, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Now, I am joined by Ranty Flat Earth, who I'll say a quick hello to. Got myself off mute. Hello.
Oh.
Sorry, had to hang out on mute.
Yeah, no worries. The size.
So have you been on Arwen's Early Bird show yet?
Yeah, I came on just for not for long though.
I think it's good. He got in touch with me and he was like, what is it today? Tuesday. Yesterday, he got on the show. He was like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm starting at 1. He went, you can't start at 1. That's when the Early Bird show's on. I said, Owen, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. If you've got a schedule and you want to keep it, just keep it. Just do your show. Don't concern yourself with what anybody else is doing. Like, it's like tens of thousands of YouTubers probably live at one time. Who cares? There's only so many hours in the day. And he was like, yeah, but, you know, why have you gone early? And I was like, this has been the same for, what, 12 months? I've had my kid in a Spanish class on a Monday for 12 months. Easily. So it's not like it's a new thing. He just doesn't pay enough attention. But the show always goes live early on a Monday. But it's like, oh, but my show. I was like, don't worry about it. I says, if you like, I'll multicast with you and it'll hopefully publicise your channel a bit. He's like, oh, okay, fine. Off he pops. But of course, in doing so, when I multicast with him, I drop my hangout and join his. And if no one's in my hangout, it just seems to die. This hangout, like you're in now.
I can't figure out this thing. How to work out how we're going to get this working. The angular size calculator. He's given me the link to use it. Are you there still, Nate?
Yeah.
So
Adam.
Yeah, we've got a distance. So let's clear everything, right? So this is essentially what he sent me here. So to figure out the angular size, we need to do A to B.
The distance between observer and target is A to B.
Is it angle, distance, or size? Size, angle, degrees, and distance. Well, we don't know the angle. We're trying to work out the angle. So it has to be, we're working out the angle. And it'll be input, degrees, minutes, or seconds. So why is it in, so we want it in degrees. So the distance is 4,500. And the size is 210. When we calculate it, it says nan degrees. So why is it coming up with that? And how was he able to pull out some kind of...
Would you want me to ring him?
Yeah.
Not online, but I'll try him. Hello, Adam.
Hi.
You got a couple of minutes because Ranty's just got a quick question before we go live.
I am. As long as you don't mind the echo, you can probably guess where I am.
Yeah, I don't need to know. Right, I'm going to share screens with you so you can see, hopefully, what Ranty's got. Can you see that?
Okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a look, mate. Yep. Okay,
Angular size calculator.
Okay, so I want to try and work out here the angle to the bridge. So we know it's 4,500 or 45,000, sorry, is the distance. And we know that the height is 210. So what do I click to get this result?
Right, so at the top, you need to click the button that says, do you want to solve for? So click for angle.
Do I want to solve for angle? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now input your distance in.
Oh, it's
keep
on the
the
wrong
units
box. I
you
was putting it
set.
in that side.
As long as you keep them, if you 45,000 and then you put it as 210,
Yeah.
don't you?
It's my mistake. I was putting it in the wrong box. I put it in that bloody box here.
That's all we
So
need,
who
Adam.
couldn't figure it out? It was coming
Like,
up 9 degrees.
if you press enter and not calculate, it doesn't calculate it either. So I was doing the same way last night.
Okay, we'll leave you to your bath.
Right, perfect. Cheers, mate.
Right.
So that's that. Yeah, that's all we need. So we can clear it. We can just go straight to this. Boom. Let's work out its angular size. Oh, it's going to be awesome, this.
You realise I'm not going to be very much help. I wasn't paying a great deal of attention this morning, right?
Yeah, it's fine. I've got everything prepared, ready to go.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't really listening that much at all. Big day. Big day for me.
Sorry?
Big day having to send something back. A piece of equipment. I hate sending pieces of equipment back that's broken. Number one, because I'm extremely poor and terrified of the cost. And B, because it's got to go in the post. And, 10 years ago, I'd have just jumped in the car and driven there. But
yeah,
now it's like, how much is the delivery? How much is the petrol? Slightly cheaper to deliver it, but it's much, much, much more risky. So it's boxed up. I'll put bubble wrap around it. Say goodbye to it tomorrow, and then pray.
Pray it's not too much.
Pray that it's not too expensive to repair. Pray that it doesn't get damaged in transit.
Pray that you don't get demonetized.
Well, that's always a concern, of course.
When you call everybody fucking cunts, on a live daytime show. I'm surprised you haven't fucking had your channel removed, I swear. Honestly. You fucking moron.
I don't call people fucking morons.
You might as well. When you've had that what's his name on?
Pete Shea.
Yeah, and that older yeah, especially Pete Shea. Wow. That was a blow up and a half, wasn't it?
Event Horizon summed it up. He was just testing the water. Are they all cool with me? Like, yeah, we would be all cool with you if you weren't so bloody obsessed with Patricia Steer.
I don't know. I don't, I mean, getting into this debate whole thing, it's like, you just don't realise the difference between people, whether they believe the flat earth or they don't. I mean, everyone seems to have a different way of, promoting it in some way or the other, And his is to go out and just attack people all the time. Everybody's an agent.
I know. Everybody's a bloody agent.
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, I like John's attitude in that regard, because he's like, I can't speak to people's motivation, so I don't know why they've done this. How the hell should he know? And you think, yeah, that's a very sensible way of looking at it. Can't speak to people's motivations. Could just be duper's delight. They could just be doing it just for the laugh of it, for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, look at these trolls. I mean, they've hung around this debate for the past year and a half that I've been around, and every day they're here, and they don't stop. They literally don't stop typing vile abuse for a full couple of hours, literally full.
You tune it out,
two
mate.
Full hours.
You tune it out after a time, don't you? Oh, mate, yeah, obviously not.
No, I mean, think about what sort of person.
Someone said to me in the comments the other day, they were like, man, I didn't realise you got so much troll abuse. And I had to stop myself from typing, really? What troll abuse? I'm thinking, it must be something specific that they're talking. And they just mean generally the kind of shit that you deal with on a daily basis. Most people would be horrified, but I literally tune it out. It's like, oh yeah, it's just part of the course, isn't it? Who cares? It doesn't really affect me at all. So who cares?
I'm at that point now. I wasn't at the beginning, I'll be honest. I wasn't at the beginning because it's, I mean, it's completely new. I mean, I've been on YouTube for years, but never experienced anything like this. And of course, it, you know, takes you back a bit when it first starts going on, and you do have to have a very thick skin to brush it off. And you can imagine when I first joined, like I say, I mean, I was gobsmacked. So other people, they must be going through that same process as well. You know, when they join the debates and they say something. I mean, that lady came in, somebody Wisby.
Oh, Marilyn.
Yeah, and Mark Taylor said to her within a minute of being in the chat, "Shouldn't you be away going and preparing your will?" You know, and I was like, "Fucking hell!" And then she responded to him by saying, "No, my boyfriend wouldn't be too happy with that." And I thought, well, that's just going to egg him on. And of course, I just saw vitriol after vitriol from like 10 of them jumping on her. And it was like, holy shit, welcome to the Dragon's Den. You know?
Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, saying that to somebody, though, I mean, come on. You wouldn't say that to someone in real life, would you?
No.
Oh, hiya, nice to meet you. Yeah, yeah. Shouldn't you be at home preparing for your will?
I mean, what's his name? Pete Shea tried to have me on that. It's like, you wouldn't say this to my face. It's like, I absolutely would. You don't know me very well.
It's just easily, you know, I mean, but how does... Right, when we say the trolls, and I mean that in the fact that they come in every single day, and they have done religiously to literally just attack constantly. Now, that has to have some kind of mental illness to do that. You know, if I didn't, I don't like going and thinking about planting flowers, right? But I'm not going to go to a flower, you know, live stream.
But you haven't got a religion about flowers, though. They've got a flower religion called heliocentricity. And, you know, it's even worse when you don't realise it's a religion. You know, you think it is the world you live in, as opposed to your religious belief about the world you live in. But people like us unpicking the fallacies and pointing out that it's just reification when you talk about your model being right. It's nonsense. We don't live on a model. But that's got to cut deep if you're a troll who believes in this religious faith of a ball. It's going to hurt, right?
It is.
Well, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people's pain. Never mind. Ah, bless Mark Taylor. Are you in pain about the loss of your belief? Ah. Oh, that's so sad.
They're losing it so bad. They are literally so far behind the ball right now. And I mean, not their ball, but the ballers in general.
The balls. The balls in general. The Cavendish balls and the the Globe balls.
Yeah, just put the balls out onto the
ball.
pavement before I stamp on them. Get your balls out.
Have you got the back chat, by the way, starting in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I can do.
It's slightly different since Arwen's done the early bird show. I used to set the show up and there'd be like at least 2 or 3 people chatting with me before the show started.
Well, people are trying to support him, aren't they, I suppose, and, you know, I suppose they want to talk about other things too. I mean, Flat Earth is very niche, you know, at least with Arwen, he's prepared to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, and I think some of the people that go in there, like Jose and stuff, they like that, so...
Right.
You know.
No, Arwen's definitely got a place here. I was trying to tell him that. I was like, saying he was struggling to build up content on his channel, and he needs to have something specific to talk about, and I was like, well, I told him my attitude. I had to find a way of being able to broadcast daily, because that's what people want. You know, as long as you've got something good to talk about. You can't just do vlogs daily, because that gets tedious, unless you're like seriously desirable or seriously whatever in your niche. You know, you've got the coolest car or whatever. Unless you've got something specific that people are particularly interested in, and even then you've got a limited shelf life. You know, so...
Well, unless you've got somebody producing new content every day.
It's a hard thing to do. You think of other things that you could do, like... I mean, I don't want to say privileged. I thought about it long and hard, what I wanted out of this. And I wanted longevity. I wanted to be able to do it for a long time. So when Arwing it was basically, I want to do the same thing as you. It's like, good for you. You know, I completely ripped off Patricia Steer. I'm, you know, not ashamed to say it. I told her to her face. I was like, I just want to do what you're doing. I think you're great at doing it, and I'm going to copy you. So, you know, take it as a compliment. But in this instance, you know, I'm not copying anybody. Other people dabbled in a similar idea, but ultimately they all failed for various different reasons.
They didn't have me.
That's what it is. They didn't have a ranty.
Everyone needs a ranty.
Yeah. If they'd have had a ranty, they'd be doing as well as I am.
Well, especially if I can get Eddie Bravo to come on. I'm hoping that'll work out.
Yeah, that was weird. I woke up and I contacted Anthony. I was like, something weird's happened. I've grown 100 subscribers overnight. That is unusual. And he was like, yeah, man, that's really weird. I said, yeah, that's never happened before, ever. The most I've ever grown was like after Vice put out their piece and it got about 1 million viewers on their own website or wherever they distribute it, however they embed it. But that got me 50 subscribers, and it was like, way, 50 subscribers in a day. That's amazing, you know.
Well, believe you me, if you actually get Eddie Bravo to come on for a couple of hours stint and just do a general chat like we're having now and just go back and forth, because he can talk and he doesn't have to be, you know, so clued up on stuff, but he can talk and he will bring people in. You will surge past the 10,000 subs by Christmas. Absolutely. Because you'll be able to...
I'd love to chat to Eddie Bravo, but by the same token, the purpose of the show is to debate, right? So, in terms of a hook, in terms of flat Earth debate, Eddie Bravo's appearance would just entice people to want to debunk whatever he asserts.
Yeah, so, but it doesn't have to be a debate. It could be Flat Earth QED talking with Eddie Bravo.
About what?
About the shape of the Earth.
It's flat.
No, I'll tell you for why. I want, you know, we could talk about it as in a way of, he was the person that got me into Flat Earth. It was watching his interaction on the Alex Jones show on one particular subject in a bar about Flat Earth that got me to look into Flat Earth. If it hadn't been for Eddie Bravo, I wouldn't have been on Flat Earth.
Wasn't it a restaurant?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a pub. You were sat down in a pub restaurant type of thing. And that was, honestly, that's what got me in. That's what brought me into Flat Earth.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. And if he was listening to this now, I'd be like cringing because I'd want to, you know, enthusiastically say, yeah, I'd love to have you on. But what for what? I'd run a debate show. So unless it's only negative for him, if you think about it from his point of view, to come on to the debate show, and I'm not getting in touch to ask him to come on for an interview, am I? You know, I've been there, done that. I might do it again, and if that was the case, I'd love to talk to Eddie Bravo. But in terms of the debate, what's he going to do? He's going to come on, and all he's going to do is enrage the trolls to attack him.
What about as an interview, then?
Pardon?
What about recording it as an interview and then releasing it like Thingy does as a premiere? Reduced.
Yeah, no. But what though? Well, my point is, yeah, it's always the what's in it for me, and the same applies for him. But I'm not going to play devil's advocate and put it from his point of view. From my point of view, what I would want out of him would be very negative for him, which is to say, for him to come on and assert various things about the shape of the Earth, his opinions potentially, or obvious facts that we cover anyway in housekeeping. And if he did that, well, then he personally opens himself to those assertions and the ridicule that comes along with them. Not that he's not anyway, but my point being, there's nothing in it for him to do that. There's something in it for me. Yeah, Eddie Bravo's saying it. Come and challenge what Eddie Bravo's got to say. That's a great pull for me. So, right, yeah, there's every advantage to me.
Forgetting what's in it for him, at the end of the day, he shouted your channel out.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful.
Obviously he watches your stuff and he's interested. So maybe he would just be quite as happy. Maybe he just needs an intermediary, which is what I am, to just want to come on and talk.
And meet the crew and talk to you guys.
We don't know, do we, until we speak to him?
I know, but I also know that if you were in his position, you'd have nothing but people contacting you saying, come and be on my show. And it would get annoying. So, don't get me wrong, if there's something that is justifiably required. So, for example, 3 years ago, the subject of psychopathy wasn't covered in Flat Earth. And people are looking for the motivation, the how and the why. And given that I've just said I can't speak to people's motivation, at the time I'd just been studying psychopathy, and Thomas Sheridan was a source that I'd used and thought his information was very worthy, and he was anti-Flat Earth, but I got him in to talk about psychopathy because I knew it was worth it, even with his anti-Flat Earth views, because he was at the time what I considered to be the best source. So for him, it expanded out his message to a wider audience, potentially got a few people that were his enemy or back on side. There was lots of benefits to Thomas Sheridan to discuss psychopathy with a flat earther. Whereas for I have nothing to offer Eddie Bravo, and everybody in these circumstances will always ask the same question: what's in it for me? And
how do you know he's going to ask that? What would you do if he just said,
human instinct?
Guys, I absolutely love your show. I would be honoured just to come on and just have a chat. I'm not interested in anything for me. Just, yeah, bring me on. I'm happy for you to meet you guys.
Got a public link. But if that was the case, you can just click the link. No, seriously. You know, I'm not being funny, but that is exactly what the circumstances would be. If he just wanted to join and say, look, I love the show, he's done that with his Instagram message, you know, and I'm eternally grateful for it. I've never had that much growth ever. 100 subs. You're like, wow! You know, it takes me a long time to grow. And it has taken. I've been on YouTube for 10, 11 years. So, you know, fantastic. But in terms of what's in it for me, that would have to be what I'd look at from his point of view. If I was to ask him to come on, and it would just be the case of, come on my show because you're cool and I want you on my show. And I know he'd just get endless messages like that, and it'd piss him off. It'd piss me off. Oh, Adam Meakin's trying to get in touch. Shall I get in touch before the show starts? We're going to start in 60 seconds.
Hi, Travis.
Morning.
Ready. Okay, I'll just call him now. Right, we're starting. I'm going to pop you guys on mute as soon as Adam's connected. Right, I'm going to pop you straight on mute, Adam, because I'm going to start the show.
Yep.
Right, Sausage. Better pop us on mute as well, hadn't I?
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link on the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Adam Meakin, The Plain Truth, Ranty Flat Earth, Jose, Chocolate Saying, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
You got a full
Hello. What?
Hello.
Good morning.
Okay, so I know a couple of the guests are on specifically to answer one of their housekeeping questions. So when it gets to it, gentlemen, feel free to pipe up. Any signs of curvature?
Nope.
No.
I have to say, soundly, still his name ring the bells everywhere. Everybody mentioned curvature, so I guess. I mean, I'm not saying that's the one I accept, but I say many people accept soundly bendy bridge as proof of curvature.
Right. We had Thomas Sheridan made a video specifically citing a compilation of Soundly observations, and the title just was like red rag to a bull because it specifically said something like, just because a scientific theory's got problems doesn't make it wrong. And I was like, scientific theory, you say? And then he went on to talk about technology and models. So I set him straight in the comments and linked a few videos to dispute the video he linked, as I say, that was a compilation of a load of Soundly clips. So he's observing an optical phenomena and saying, science! It's like, no, that's step 1 in the scientific method, Mr. Sheridan. Step 2 would be to formulate a hypothesis with both an alternative and a null. The null being the zero difference result, once you manipulate your independent variable, presumed cause of the effect, and an alternative, i.e. a confirmation that your presumed cause does cause the effect, when you go forward to perform an experiment and validate or invalidate your hypothesis. Anyway, none of that was occurring in the Soundly video, which was referenced with the title that said scientific theory in it. So, like I say, red rag to a bull. I spent a good hour making a comment for him, which probably got deleted in half a second. But there we go, it made me feel better. So, any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, as we've got Ranty on?
No.
No.
Nope.
Any signs that you can have a gas pressure without a container? For all those space believers out there.
No, when I fart, it's definitely inside a container until I release it.
That's beautiful, Ranty.
Chocolate answered the question with one word. What was that, Chocolate?
The magic word is gravity.
Can't do it.
What was the magic word?
Even by their own standards.
Magic word is gravity, he said.
Oh, gravity. Excellent segue.
Can't work.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
Nah, that's why it's a magic word.
Yeah, but even in their theoretical gravity, it can't work.
What about the distance to the sun? Any evidence of that?
We'll have no.
Trigonometry.
Oh, we're getting to our Jose. Hold your horses.
Sorry.
Great no.
Distance to the sun?
Nathan.
Anybody at all?
No. Still waiting on Neil deGrasse to prove it.
Okay, what about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Any evidence of that?
Afraid not.
Oh, that's good.
Right,
I
Jose.
don't even know what lava is.
Say again, lava, I heard. I've got a terrible cold, I can hardly hear anything. Say again, Arwin.
Well, I would almost suggest adding what causes lava. So.
But who cares?
I care.
Ah, that's nice. What about the R value? Any evidence of that as it's directly and specifically related to the shape of the Earth and its flatness? Earth radius, gentlemen?
You only have to presuppose it, and everything will be all right.
I think we would actually need a sphere for that. Being that we don't have one, we don't have radius.
But you can imagine it to be.
Calculations with it, but we've got no evidence of it.
Just the presupposition, eh?
Yeah.
Radius Dominus Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus Arwin. Go in peace, globeheads. In R you trust. Now I know a couple of you have done a presentation, Ranty and Adam. Do you want to get straight into that?
I think Ranty's done the presentation, hasn't he? I've done a
You're
bit
here
of
for
it,
support, I know, so do you want to kick off with that, Ranty?
Oh no, I think we're having it the other way around first, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to bore people with the maths first. Otherwise, people will run away when I start. I don't know if you can share for me, Nathan, the spreadsheet.
Well, yeah, Ranty wants to get it up. I mean, I would say just go from the top. I'll give you a running start. So, as I understand this, Miles Davis has offered up his channel and his allegiance to flat Earth if somebody can prove that it's possible to make his photograph that he's taken from a series of images from a video on a compact camera whilst out shooting with some other much more sophisticated cameras, but the single shot taken from this compact camera video, he asserts cannot work on a flat plane. And if somebody can prove that it can, then he is going to swear his allegiance to Flat Earth and delete all of the content on his channel. So this sparked the interest of Ranty, Anthony, and indeed Adam. So from there, who wants to take it away? I've got your spreadsheet up on screen now, Adam.
Yeah, brilliant. If we're doing that, then, and I'll quickly run through that, because I think, like I say, Ranty stuff then follows on and a lot better.
Kill him, Adam.
So if we're looking at what I've done there, what I've kind of done is from Miles's video, taken the heights and distances that have been stated by him, and kind of applied the angular size calculator to it, so as to, you know, just match it up, see if it works. So I did that, and now obviously the angular size calculator is on a premise that you're observing across a flat plane, so no adjustment needs to be made for our results. However, if we are going to do angular size and consider that the observation is occurring from a specific point on a ball, then these height and distance measurements need to be taken into account, and there's actually a hell of a lot of maths and readjustments you can do in terms of line of sight distance. But for the purposes of this, all I've done here is use the target hidden and subtracted that away from the actual stated height. So you can see that the bridge, actually you can see all the bottom of the bridge, so its relative height stays the same. But with the target hidden values on the other peaks, I've then subtracted them away to give us the new relative height as it would appear when viewed from a specific point on a ball. Because obviously the further away that peak is, the more curvature it's subject to, and therefore the more reduction in its actual height will occur.
So if I summarise what you've just said, basically what you're doing is you're taking the calculations for the sphere Earth, which is an orthographic calculation which doesn't perform a viewing function, and you're translating it into an actual viewing function by taking the angular size of any given item in the distance, i.e. the size it reduces to given the distance that you are away from it, and then factoring in the drop that would be relevant to that angular size when it's viewed over a curve, and then reducing that off what you'd have left in terms of the overall angular size, which you've then put into this spreadsheet. Is that correct?
Succinctly described, Nathan. Thank you. Yeah. So we've done that, and there is a little bit more analysis and inference we can draw from that, but I want to do a little bit more statistical work on that. But the first and most obvious thing is when you actually look at these angular sizes and their relationships to each other in the picture, you'll see that the ball angular size looks a little skewed. But rather than go into too much analysis, what I thought would be probably the best thing would be to rank them in terms of highest to lowest. This way, it's an indicator as opposed to anything overly accurate. But with the inaccuracies that are in Miles's photo, it's hard to do anyway. There appears to me to be a slight issue with regards to how the photo has been set up, and I do think that the camera is slightly angled up, and that's kind of borne out of the first set of ranking results. And basically, as I did the results, if you look at the green column and the blue column, from the picture, I just kind of ranked them from the smallest going down up to the largest. So C being Cairnock Hill Bridge, Strong End, D, E, and M. Relatively, they're getting higher as we go down. Now, when I compare that to the angular sizes, actually, that's an absolute perfect match with what's observed in reality, with the exception that the bridge and the Cairnock Hill are actually the other way round in terms of height with regards to angular size calculation. And I do think that this is, and Ranty will probably go into much bigger detail and explain why visually, but I do think this is because actually I think the observation is occurring at less than 210 metres, and we're getting a slight angling up, which will place the Cairnock Hill visually slightly lower than the top height of the bridge. Now, that being said, if we then compare the rankings of them all after that, you can see that actually it's an exact match. It's S, D, E, M in terms of the peaks, and they match perfectly. So the angular size calculation is in agreement with the observation. Now, when I then do the same rankings on the adjusted ball heights, we actually get a very strange result, very, very strange. There is actually no correlation whatsoever with any of them, with the exception of peak M, Meikle Bin. On all of them, actual observed and angular, sorry, actual height is slightly, it's the second highest, but observed height, angular size height, and angular size on the ball, M is the only one that the angular size ball figures actually comes out to in agreement with the others.
So
and
just
actually,
to summarise, sorry,
yeah.
just to summarise what you've just stated. So with the exception of, I can never say it, Meikle Bin, I think I'll butcher it, doesn't matter. With the exception of that, when you take the 90-degree side-on orthographic view, however you want to describe it, the one that was presented in Miles Davis's video, the side-on view, where you can see both the observer and the target, or targets in this instance. When you take that and translate it back into the observer view and account for the angular size reduction over distance and the drop, and then factor that back into this table, nothing matches the observation in terms of where the maths would predict these things would be if you were viewing them over a curved surface. As opposed to, with the flat Earth observation, they all match with one strange exception, the one coincidentally highlighted by Miles Davis in the video itself. Now, it's asserted by Adam so far that it's because he believes that it's because the observation is actually lower than is quoted. Is that correct?
Yeah, lower, and also conversely, the camera, from my looking at my...
Oh, he's popped himself on pause. He's still there?
It would appear the camera's angled up as well. But yeah, the observed height and the angular size calculated on a flat plane, the relative rankings of where the peaks should appear in terms of height to each other matches up between the observed and angular size. However, when we go to the ball figures, it's exceptionally skewed to the point that I'll just summarize it. There's between peaks B and S, angular size is in agreement that S is higher than the bridge, but actually on the ball, the bridge should be significantly higher than peak S. D should be higher than the bridge in both observed height and angular size, but on the ball mass, because the way it falls away, again, the bridge should be higher than peak D. M should be significantly higher than the bridge, which it is, both observed and in angular size figures. But in this case, this actually one is correct. It has predicted that M would be bigger than the bridge, but only by one ranking place. So it's basically, once you put these figures onto a ball and apply them to the image, there is absolutely no correlation between the calculated angular sizes and the observed image from a ball. However, we have a perfect correlation with angular size when applied on a flat plane.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Adam. So, Ranty, it's actually your screen I've got displayed to have this spreadsheet up, so I don't know if you want to follow on from there.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Just let me... something prepared. So
very nice work, Adam.
Yeah, very nice, very well done.
Yeah,
and to be
kudos.
fair, I mean, I had to do no work apart from just put some pretty pictures together. So it's all down to Adam. This he gets all the credit for the work that he's done.
Teamwork, dudes. Teamwork.
So this is the impossible, if it's the impossible image on a flat Earth, apparently, according to Miles Davis. Now, the criteria for him removing all his content from his channel and becoming a flat earther is that if we can demonstrate that these series of images that he's posted are consistent with can be proven to be produced on a flat Earth, then this is the criteria that we need to address. And as long as we meet this criteria, then he will do as he said, which is remove all his content and become a flat earther. So Adam's already told you how it's possible. I'm going to show you a few images now to show you exactly what he was talking about. Essentially, for this presentation, I'm going to assume that he is at 210 meters. I'm going to take his word for it. I know it's in disagreement with what Adam says, but we can work around that. And we have a Miles's camera height of exactly 210 meters above sea level, and is exactly the same height as the bridge. So here's the bridge that he's looking at. He has a direct line of sight to it. In the next image, we will have an angle that is produced, and this is the angular size. So this angle from the top of the bridge to the bottom of the bridge, given the distances involved, will create an arc angle, which we can measure. And this angle is 0.26738. I can show you that on how to work this out on a calculator. So if I come up to the angular size calculator up here, and we go for working out the angle, and we need to put the distances involved, which in this case was 45,000 to the bridge and a height of 210, and we calculate it, it can give you a degree. So there's the degree that it gives you. So this is how you work it out using trigonometry. 0.26738. That is the degree. Anyone can use this. They can put the distances involved. They can check the workings out. It's all there to be done. On the next slide, essentially, this is what it means.
Can I just stick a bit of clarity in on that one? I mean, the numbers that are coming out are obviously very, very low. And you look at the image that Miles presented. This is obviously to do with regards to viewing by the eye. However, they're all scalable, and obviously with Miles's images, they're zoomed in, but the reality is the ratio of the scale of the angle of it would be the same. So it's just, obviously, if somebody looks at it straight away, 0.2 degree isn't marrying up to any of those images, but it's the relative ratios that's important on that, because you've got a zoom and a etc. on that.
So an angular size greater than 0.26738, which is this ratio here. So an angle of that greater than that will make the object appear higher than the bridge. So if we have something in the distance and this angle is higher than 0.26738, it should appear bigger than the bridge. If it has a lower angle, it should appear lower. It's pretty basic stuff. So here we have a target in the distance. So this is the target, the hill in the distance. And now we have a new arc here, and we have a new angle produced from the observer looking to the top of the mountain and the bottom of the mountain. We now have a new angle, and dependent on what that angle is where it would appear to the observer in relation to the image produced. So if it's like I say, if it going back to this, if it has a higher than 0.26738, it will appear above the bridge, and if it's a lower arc, it will appear below the bridge. Here we have, this is Miles's own workings out. So here I take a screenshot from his channel. This is the image that he wants us to work with. He's got the details of certain mountains in the background and a nice dotted line across the middle to denote his 210 meter to the bridge. So this is his eye line, direct line of sight. So this is where we can work from using Miles's own evidence. Next image, not really that important. This one is though. I've put a little ruler in. Now it doesn't really matter too much. This is just so that you can get a rough idea for a 0.276. So 0.2767 or 76, whichever it is. We have a ruler in now to the arc degree. The next image, this is looking for Mikhail Bin. So the angular size of Mikhail Bin on a flat Earth is 0.35, which is substantially higher than 0.26, which is this dotted line. The angular size for Mikhail Bin on the ball Earth is 0.27, which is just 0.1 of a marking above this dotted line. So when we scroll in and we look how small 0.1 of a marking is, it's literally right above this red line. So if it's a ball Earth proof, this Mikhail Bin here should be right above that line. If it's a flat Earth proof, it should be much higher, much nearer to 0.35. And as you can see, Mikhail Bin is substantially higher than this dotted line. Now, you can't make mountains get higher in the distance because obviously if it's fallen beyond the curvature of the Earth, it's now down to essentially the same height as this 210 meter bridge in the foreground by virtue of its angular size. The fact that it is substantially higher than this dotted line makes it more of a flat Earth proof than a ball Earth proof. And I can show you that on the next slide I've put a white line in across the top of the hill. And if we scroll into the calculation, we're coming out roughly at 3.4 degrees as an angular size, which is much more consistent for a flat Earth than it is for the ball Earth. The next image is for Stone End. And again, we have this dotted line that Miles has conveniently put across the middle. Put the ruler in again just to give you a sort of visual. Here we have on a flat Earth versus a ball Earth, right? So angular size Stone End on a flat Earth is 0.30, which would be this line up here. And for the ball Earth, it would be below the red line. Now, the fact that we can see all of that mountain above this line says to me that this Stone End has not gone beyond the curvature of the Earth. It hasn't grown by 0.4 of a degree in angular size. However, you can actually lose some things from the top of mountains if it's in sort of fog, mist, clouds, anything like that. One thing you can't do is make the mountain grow. So again, I'm going to say it's more of a flat Earth proof than a ball Earth proof, because it certainly doesn't match up to it falling beyond the curvature of the Earth. Its angular size is not related at all. Lastly, we go on to Dunbreak and Earl's Seat. Both appear in the image at an angular size of 0.269, which is essentially this white line. So basically, where he's put these two arrows in here, this is the line of sight, and I've put a white line in that shows you that. That's where they appear. Let's go on to the next slide. Sorry, both appear. There we go. So in the ball Earth model, this is the white line. This white line should be where it appears in the ball Earth model. This is 2.1 degrees. This is how it should appear. These Dunbreak and Earl's Seat, if you put their angular size in on a ball Earth, they should be at 2.1 degrees, which would be where this line is here. And again, they are substantially higher in reality as opposed to what the image shows. So,
I did a bit of stats on that as well, actually, Ranty. So I took the percentage variance, so away from where it should be. And actually, other than the bridge, which we're assuming is kind of your reference point, so that's got no figure. If we take from Kernock Hill, that's 29.1% variance of what it should be. Mikhail Bin is 22% out. Bill's seat is 33.7% out. Dunbrack 30.05 and Stronend 30.6. So
to summarise again, Adam, you're good at giving these figures, because what you're basically saying is the difference is massive. It's about a third out on the ball.
Yeah. Well, you can see here with these two white lines, this is the actual position. The top line is the actual position as evidenced in the image. The line underneath it, which is far down the scale, is where it should appear on a ball earth. And you can work that out as a percentage. It's roughly, what, 25% difference? It's lost 25%, or it's grown 25% in height. Much clearer to a flat earth proof than a ball earth proof.
It's not. It's worse than that. Fact. It's an actual impossibility, given ball topography, for these peaks to be there. But the only way in which you could get this image would be to have multiple variant levels of lumen and refraction occurring to bring the peaks into what would appear to be representative of positioning on a flat plane. But there is no way in which these peaks could ever sit relative to each other as they are doing on a ball.
But his claim,
and that's the point in the first column. They just can't be like that, because they only represent relative to each other like that on a flat plane. As soon as you apply the relative distances for all these different height peaks, which are different distances from the observer, the level of curve that's applied to each one is massively different, to the point that the biggest peak is smaller than the second biggest peak when viewed. So it's, to me, what Miles has provided is a definitive proof, okay, that this observation is not achievable on a ball, because of the way he's presented all the other heights and gave us all that quality detail. The only way which you can marry up this observation is when you apply these peaks to be positioned on a flat plane. It's impossible on a ball. It's impossible.
It's impossible on a ball, and confirms we live on a flat plane when you take into account perspective. So unfortunately for Miles, either he doesn't watch the show or he doesn't pay very much attention, because when he presented this, he did all the mathematics in an orthographic view using the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. And all we've done is taken that mathematics and applied angular size reductions, which aren't included. Because as Rumpus pointed out, the curve calculator is not performing viewing functionality.
And the angular size calculator takes this into consideration when it looks from the observer to the object. It gives you an angular size, something that you can actually work with. And that's represented in very small degrees, but they are measurable, and they can place objects in the distance at relative heights to the other objects that you're looking at. So some will be higher, some will be lower. They may be bigger in actual size, but in relative size to the observer, they can be smaller or higher or the same height. And this is why when we use angular size calculator, we can prove once and for all that Miles now needs to remove all his content from his channel and become a flat earther.
Yeah. And we're happy to help him along some evenings, get him up to speed a little bit whenever Miles is ready to. Rumpus is disagreeing with us.
Is that the end of your? Is that the end of your presentation?
That's all we have. That's all we need.
Excellent.
We don't need any more.
Job well done. Thank you very much, Ranty. Thank you very much, Adam.
Pleasure.
Well, we should be expecting a channel deletion then, correct?
Indeed. Well, all this content removed at least. This was the claim. We needed to show that it could be achievable on a flat Earth, and that's what we have done. We have proved conclusively that the image does marry up to a flat Earth by virtue of using its angular size. We've met the conditions for that. The fact that we've debunked his entire video and arguments about it being a ball Earth proof is just secondary. We met his criteria before when we showed how these relative heights should appear in relation to the bridges, etc. And yeah, so looking forward to him. Well, do we actually want him as a flat earther, though? Would we actually want him as a flat earther?
Well, it's his declaration, not ours. It's not like we're requesting him.
Yeah, we don't have to go for a pint with him. We just want him to make a statement that it's flat.
I don't know. Anthony's pretty keen. He was like, "I'll buy you first pint as a flat earther. No worries." But he's apparently skulking around St. Bees when Ranty and Anthony met Al K.
He probably was. He didn't have the courage to come and say hello, though. We'd have bought him a sandwich just like we did Al K.
Yeah, with a bit of love.
I'm saying
loving it. Hello, Anon. How you doing?
Hello. How you doing?
Good to have you.
Hey, I made a song after watching this.
Hang on, I just want to address the rumpus here. The rumpus, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about the ruler. The ruler was just there as a guide. It was not a specific, this is the angle that we need to be taking things from. However, the rumpus, we did need to know exactly where each individual mountain would be in relation to the height of the bridge. That was the most important thing. The most important. And when you look at that Mikhail Hill, that thing is above, way, way, way higher than the height of the bridge. And that completely destroys the observation from miles, regardless of what you think. Everything else matched up perfectly to a flat earth. Forget the ruler. Don't focus on that. That had nothing to do with the presentation. That was
well, just to back that away, easy enough. So he says you've used the ruler to determine the angular size. Wrong. The ruler is being used as a visual demonstration. The angular size was determined by Adam and presented on a spreadsheet. If you would like to compare using mathematical number-based evidence rather than a graphical depiction using a very crude ruler for scale, then you're welcome to check out the spreadsheet that was at the beginning of the presentation.
Yeah, the mass was there. The picture was sort of the little ruler thing there was just to exemplify the point so that you could see the differentials between the line that Miles had drawn on. I thought it was quite a clever way of doing it, but probably rumpus, if you go back and watch it again, and there is the replay show, so maybe if you slow the speed down a little bit, listen carefully, you might grasp it instead of coming in with daft questions that just show a level of ignorance and lack of understanding, mate. Okay,
the rumpus says the maths is gibberish. Why is the maths gibberish? We've just used trigonometry, which is mathematics. We've used trigonometry to prove the angular size of the objects we would be looking at in the distance and their relative heights to the observer. How is that gibberish?
It isn't. There's nothing wrong with what Adam did. Kudos, Adam.
Oh, apparently we don't understand trigonometry. We don't know how to plug things into a trigonometry calculator.
I think you can stop reading his comments at that point.
Okay.
So Miles Davis haven't been watching this episode of the Flat Earth debate because the channel, I was just checking and the channel is still up. He should delete it, right?
Well, I don't know what he's agreed to. I haven't even watched the video, to be perfectly honest. So maybe Ranty can give us a summary of what was actually promised.
Well, the promise was that if we could demonstrate that the image that he produced could be achieved on a flat Earth, then he would remove all his content and become a flat earther. That was the standards with which we needed to prove. In order for him to do that, we needed to have these conditions met. So I think we've met those conditions. We've showed that yes, it can be. This image does in fact work on a flat Earth. So we've already way past that. The fact that we debunked his entire video is, like I say, it's a secondary plus point, because I think we should be using this sort of work from him much more. In fact, it's, in my opinion, it's probably in the top 5 of the best flat Earth proofs of the year. It's really good.
If anything, it is one of the best flat Earth proofs of the year. I mean, It can only work on a flat plane.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that he actually got to exactly 210 meters. He went to the point of making sure that we all know that he was exactly at 210, the bridge was 210, and then we could work everything else out. And thanks to him,
hold
we
on,
now have
hold
this
on.
as a
You
solid
don't need
flat
the.
Earth proof.
Let's keep it concise. Let's not have the sarcasm. So just point out your grievances rather than be sarcastic.
I don't have any grievances. You know, I mean, I wouldn't have even known his work he was still around. I mean, I thought he disappeared months ago, but it was Anthony that mentioned it and said that he was back on the scene and he had this evidence that destroys the flat Earth, and but he was willing to put his channel up for it. So that's when we looked into it, and Adam knocked it out of the park with his mathematics.
I mean, I know Rumpus is saying that the maths is wrong there. We've not gone and taken these things. We've only used what the current academic world says is correct. We've applied the figures that Miles has stated to that to make a conclusion based on what he was stating and to analyse those figures. So, Rumpus, mate, we're not cooking out. We're using your academic way of calculating things, and the numbers have been put in. And unless you're going to show a different way, mate, that you only need to include perspective when determining angular side. What a doofus. Do you know what I mean? The numbers are there, and the numbers speak for themselves with regards to the assumptions that Miles Davis made. And for me, it's quite clear that, unfortunately, with the distances and the heights, there is absolutely no way when you apply those numbers onto a globe that you can get the image that is taken from reality. And in fact, when we bothered to put the angular size in, we see such a beautiful correlation between the image we see and how it should be laid out proportionally on a flat plane. To me, that's the one that meets the criteria that Miles was asking for, that it wasn't just a matter of disproving it on a ball, but proving that it could work on a flat plane. To me, it's that bit of maths that really does show that it is only achievable and does work on a flat plane. That means that Miles should be a man of his word and take his channel down, I'm afraid.
I'm wondering if any of the bowlers in the chat and listening live to the show either agree or disagree with this debunking and want to jump in the panel and give us their take on it.
Rumpus says he's going to do it. You'd have thought he'd have already prepared it and passed it to Miles by now, wouldn't you, really, if it's that simple? Don't the Rumpus do stuff, say he's going to do stuff and never do it anyway, so I won't worry. You're still waiting for that last lot, aren't you, from when Riley went to the beach?
Yeah, Arwin tends to keep tracks of those sorts of things. He's got a good memory for it. I don't care.
That would hold me breath then for Rumpus producing something.
What? Sorry?
Oh, for something that Rumpus was supposed to do but didn't, you tend to
right.
you keep on top of that. I don't.
Well, he was supposed to model out how Riley's video view of the super close to the surface of the sea observation in long distance could be possible on a globe model. That's basically what he promised. And it's of course an astronomical job that he can't do that. He's all bluster.
Sorry, Nathan, you asked us to go into a bit more depth about why we thought it was a sensational flat Earth proof, and I think Adam went over that, but I'll just try and explain it a little bit differently. If I'm presenting, just let me know.
You are.
Okay, so I don't know exactly how Adam's figured it all out, but I know what he's trying to say. What he's trying to say is that when you look at, for instance, Cairnock Hill in the centre, and its relative position to the bridge is, say, just below the bridge, and yet Stron End is just below the bridge too. If it was a ball Earth proof, some of these could be wiggled around, so Stron End may appear much lower in the image, and Cairnock Hill, by virtue of its position being slightly nearer to us, should be slightly higher. So this mountain range would look different, is what Adam's trying to say. If you put the same calculations into the ball, it wouldn't look like this. What we're looking at here, this mountain, all these mountain ranges wouldn't look like they are right now, but it works perfectly on a flat Earth. This is the model that you would expect it to look like on a flat plane, regardless of where it is in relation to the pole in the foreground. But if you input the data on a ball Earth, like Mikhail Bin would be far lower, and essentially you could even have Cairnock Hill higher than Mikhail Bin. You know, it would just look different. The terrain would look different. and it doesn't. It matches much more to a flat Earth proof than a ball Earth proof. That's what he's trying to say.
Ranty, that's exactly it. I can list it for you. If both in the observed height you'd have the bridge and Cairnock Hill, it would then, both from the observed and flat plane observations, go in the order of Strong End, Dunbrack, Earl's Seat, and then Meikle Bin. When we apply the mathematics to the ball stuff, it comes out in terms of the Cairnock Hill being the smallest, then Strong End, then Earl's Seat, Dunbrack, then the bridge, and then Meikle Bin. And it's that complete jumbling, because what happens when you apply the curve calcs and the effect that the distance away has on the relative height, it jumbles up the relative order of the peaks. And it's that lack of correlation and the way it jumbles it up on the ball because of what the curve does, that's really is the big proof that it is not on a ball. And I say the subsequent proof is the correlation with just angular size and on a flat plane correlating with the observed. And it's that complete lack of rank ordering being the same between observed and angular size on a ball that is a real massive ball buster, I'm afraid.
Indeed. Can I say something? Like,
Sure.
I'm really amazed like how low Rumpus can go, because in chat he actually doubled down on the promise about Riley's observations. And he's making excuses that, oh, he's had a terrible cold, but he's 98% done with his website about Riley's observations.
What, still about the Isle of Man, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so last year.
Literally.
What a joke.
That's like writing a review for a film that was released 3 years ago.
No, you're on the panel. If you do want to talk to the chat, you feel welcome.
All right.
Just read out what you put. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, you're chatting it in the chat box. It's like, just say it. You're on the panel.
No, but that's literally what Rumpus said. It's a little bit up early in the chat. So that's just what he said.
He has nothing left, Rumpus. Nothing else to offer.
It's just amazing that after all this time, he still holds on to the claim.
You utter morons. Cairnock Hill is 413 meters. The bridge is 410. Therefore, on a flat Earth, the hill has to be above the bridge. Really?
Has he done the angular size on that?
Sorry, say that again, Adam.
Has he done the angular size on that? If you look at just at the basic distances, the angular size for the hill is 0.275 degree, and the angular size from the bridge, because it's virtually twice as far away, is 0.26. Now, just using a little bit of like rule of thumb maths, you can see that it's 45 kilometers away and literally just short of double the distance. But if you double 210, it comes to 420, which is very close, look, to Cairnock Hill, but it's slightly more. Yeah? So what Ranty, there will always be some slight variances in these degrees, because as Ranty was saying, this is only taken into account angular size. It's not having any consideration for atmospheric optical effects, which could skew the observed results compared to the angular and show a small differential, which is why when I said what was important when I was analysing the data isn't to try and take the photo and apply precise numbers to it. It was important to just kind of take the rank ordering because that is sufficient to reject or accept flat or ball in terms of the positionings of the peaks.
So it's like analysing a waveform then. So if you had a wave form that you was able to look at, you could be able to match it up to the terrain that we see, and it follows the same contours on a flat Earth, but on a ball Earth it doesn't match at all. That waveform is different. That's why you can conclusively say that it's more of a flat Earth proof. Well, it is a flat Earth proof than a ball Earth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the correlation between the rank ordering of the peaks is the same on the observed, the angular size calculated on a flat plane. It is not, and is completely scrambled when you do that, applied those angular sizes to the positioning on a ball. There is no correlation.
Rumpus is actually promising in chat that he's writing a full manual on how the observations work.
Sorry, I just don't want this to slide. I did read his comment, but that comment came almost immediately after Adam's question, which kind of drifted into his explanation. So Adam's question was, did you include the angular size when you threw out those numbers? Just want to ask Rumpus before that gets distracted away from I'm doing Isle of Man. Maybe if you can repeat and reiterate your question, Adam.
Sorry, could you just repeat? I just got quickly distracted there, mate. Sorry.
No worries. I was saying that at the start when you interrupted, so Aaron read out Rumpus's comment in regards to the 420 meters, and you said your first words were, "Does he include the angular size adjustment in that?"
Yeah, I'm lost. Maybe make the point for me, Nathan, and help me.
No, that's it. I'm not making a point. I'm asking a question to the Rumpus. When you threw out those numbers, did he also include the angular size adjustment, the whole point of what you have done, or did he just throw the numbers out there?
Okay, now he's talking about what? Okay, he's talking about relative heights, and the angular size is something you do after.
Right, is it?
Determine
Right.
the absolute size. Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Nathan, can you share my screen just for a moment, please? I am going to... Right, Rumpus has basically said that if something is higher than you in the distance and you're looking straight out, it can't have a lower angular... a lower angle than you are, essentially. So let's start with this. So the 45,000 is to the bridge with a view height of 210. And we're calculating that comes out at 0.26 degrees, right? So if we double the distance, 900, so it goes to 90,000, and we almost double the size of it, and we put it at 400. So now that the object we're looking at is almost twice the height of the bridge, right? And then we calculate it. It comes out at a lesser degree, a lower degree. It's 0.25 as opposed to 0.26. So in the field of view that you're looking at it through, it will look smaller than the bridge, even though it is almost double the height. So Rumpus, you failed again, mate. Absolutely failed again. You can have things in the distance that are higher than you that will look lower in their field of view. The angular size will look lower than the bridge, something that's smaller in the foreground. Absolutely busted.
So I'm hoping Adam can reiterate the point as he filled this in, despite the fact Anthony and Ranty didn't pass all credit, or did pass all credit to Adam. They were certainly on the phone with me at 9 o'clock this morning talking about it, and have been since then till when the show started, and all of yesterday. So this is obviously not an obsession, but certainly a great interest to both of you. So certainly Adam doesn't get all the credit, but a vast chunk of it. Are you there, Adam?
Yeah, no, mate. It's listening to you guys chew. Like I say, it's the Flat Earth Collective, mate, that does these things. I'm listening to you guys chew yesterday. That then said to me, go ahead and do this bit of stats on it. And do you know what I mean? It's teamwork. It's teamwork. And it's the way forward, isn't it? But I just want to make one thing which just reiterates Ranty's point of view there. The bridge and Crannock Hill are, for all intensive purposes, the bridge is half the height of Crannock Hill. But Crannock Hill is twice as far away. And if you look at them, for all intensive purposes, they look the same height. One is half the size and half the distance away. And that's a great exemplar that just completely negates the point that Rumpus is trying to make to try and undermined what we've presented today. But before he could do so, he really has to say, well, actually, a bridge that's half the height and half the distance appears exactly the same as the hill. Unless he can undo that in terms of size and distance, then really the criticism he's applying to what we've presented has no validity.
Cool. And did you want to stress what you'd done in terms of your methodology, and then I'll round out this show?
So cryptic. The final, I suppose, the final summary is this: it is impossible for the observation that we see to have the peak heights match up with the peak heights when laid on a supposed ball Earth of radius 6371 kilometers. The only topography that gives a correlation of peak size and distance is if we lay those peaks out on a flat plane.
Perfect. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And if you were late to the show, this will get rebroadcast in about an hour's time on my second channel, which is Nathan Oakley. There's a link in the info box, so check that out if you didn't catch the first part of this show, or the evidence that demonstrates that Miles Davis's observation absolutely and only works on a flat plane. So also a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And if you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!